For the second episode of Moctober, we're cutting apart Nike's MOCTOE that was underneath the ACG banner. And if you don't know what ACG stands for, it stands for All Condition Gear. And so we're going to cut this apart, run it through some tests to really see if this is made for all conditions or if it's just a boot with the ACG name to help sell it. And if ACG stands for something other than all condition gear, maybe it stands for all cheap garbage, all absolutely cheap gear. We'll figure out what ACG actually stands for this particular boot. And thanks to Native for sponsoring this video. Native's deodorants are perfect if you don't want to smell like a 14-year-old pubescent boy, because after I started using Native, I feel pretty good about the way I smell, and the texture is really good too, because it's not sticky, it doesn't dry up and clump up and be all goopy like some of the deodorants are. And the nice thing is it's aluminum and paraben free. And I've tried their warm cider and cinnamon, which smells like, you know, like a autumn candle. It's a great seasonal smell. I've also tried their sea salt and cedar. Native takes it a step further by offering a full plastic-free version of their deodorant, using the same formulas but with more sustainable packaging. The plastic-free version now comes in a new and improved packaging. It's earth-friendly and 100% plastic-free. And Native does more than just deodorant. They also offer a really nice body wash, and I got the Wildwood and Cardamom body wash, and it smells so good in the shower. So to get those 3 deodorants, it'd be $39, but if you use the link in my description and use the Rose Anvil code, you'll get them for $26. So that's 33% off. And with my code, you can also get the 20% off that really nice smelling body wash and the toothpaste. And if you use the code, you get a discount. It helps the channel out and it helps the sponsor out, which helps us on the channel. So thanks again to Native, and thank you guys. Before we get to this boot, let's quickly go over what ACG is and how it started in the history of ACG. Well, it all started in 1978 when pictures surfaced of mountaineers using Nike's LDV waffle sole to hike K2, which is, I think, the second tallest mountain in the world. And then in 1981, Nike Hiking launches, kind of the predecessor to the ACG line. And then a few years later, Nike officially launches the ACG line that stands for All Conditions Gear. And then from 1989 to 2011, they released a ton of iconic shoes that grew in popularity. Some notable shoes were the Air Moabs, the Air Mocs, the Aqua Socks, and then from 2011 to 2012, ACG started to fizzle out, and it started to be less about the all-condition gear and more about just relying on the name. And ACG started to stray from the original concept and the idea of making purpose-built footwear and clothes. And then in 2016 or 2017, Arison Hugh from Acronym took over the ACG brand and started pointing it towards the Japanese techwear style and really improving the quality to bring it back to its original concept and ideas. And 2019 to basically current, they've kind of had this resurgence and this renaissance of the ACG brand, where they've started releasing more innovative footwear, and they become more and more popular, like with the Mountain Fly, the Air Mach 3.0, the Terra Antarctic, the Terra Antarctic, the Zoom Air AO, and now at this point in late 2022, ACG is as popular as it's ever been, and it allegedly is bringing some of the quality back. And so it's been this interesting story, but it started out with high quality and then slowly dropped down to just relying on the name, and now they're kind of resurrecting it and bringing it back. And this boot, the Kingman, was released in 2012. So it was right at that dip, a little bit of that dark age, that era where it allegedly wasn't as good as the before and after the dark ages of ACG. So we're gonna see if that's true with this boot and see if it has actually purpose built or if it's not, and if it lives up to the ACG name. So let's start going through the details of this boot, starting with the leather first. So this looks like a suede leather, and there's basically 2 types of leather that you're gonna see that have this suede fuzzy texture. True suede that's cut from the lower cross section that doesn't have that highly sought after grain pattern that gives leather its strength. Or it's a rough out leather where they've basically taken that cross section and flipped it around and kept that grain pattern, but it's flipped to the inside and the fuzzy bit is facing out. So to figure that out, we cut a little slit in the leather, put the macro lens on it to see if there's any visible grain, and as you can see, no grains whatsoever. So this is a true suede, which is inferior to a rough out leather or a full grain leather. And suede isn't a great choice for a durable leather because all it is a bunch of those loose fibers that you see on the outside interwoven and interlocked. And so over time, as you wear that leather and it flexes, all those fibers slowly start working themselves apart, and then eventually you get a split. So is the leather all conditions gear worthy? I would say no. You know, it's just not a great, it's maybe the worst leather for all conditions boot, but it is flame resistant because we put the flame to it, and as you can see, the suede and the rough out leather is more flame resistant than that grain pattern on the outside, which can be a little bit sensitive to heat. Next, if we move to the inside, you can see that it is lined. And so technically there is a liner, but it's more of a backer than anything. Because when you remove the grain from suede, that leather, like I said, doesn't have anything to hold all those loose fibers together, so they have to back it with this canvas type material if they really want to use it in any form of footwear that needs to be durable. So it is technically lined with canvas, and then you can also see on the inside there's a counter cover that looks like leather, but it's not, which is unfortunate because leather is a really wear resistant material. So in that heel area that you always wear your shoes out, it's nice to have leather in there because it doesn't wear out as much as a fake leather like this one is. And then the collar is also fake leather. It looks like leather, but it's not because we burned it and you can see it just melted. So are these lining and internal components ACG worthy? I would say they're not. You know, because they're not the most durable materials. The canvas is maybe okay, but it would just have been nice to see the internal counter cover being all conditions worthy and maybe the collar. So then we move further to the inside. You can see there's a non-removable foam insole. And for an ACG boot, you might want that to be able to be removed so you can put your own in there and last longer. And if you have custom orthotics, it'll slide in there. But it's not the worst thing to have a non-removable insole. Some people prefer it, some people don't like it. So I would say it's kind of like a half thumbs up, half thumbs down for this one when it comes to ACG worthy. It's fine. And then we move to the outsole. So this is one of the softer wedge soles we've seen. This is really similar to the cheaper soles we see on like the Carhartts and some of those really cheap work boots. This ACG outsole just feels like it's almost like a really dense magic eraser, versus when you feel like a Christie sole, you can tell it's rubber based because it has that like kind of cold feel to it. It's a lot heavier. Versus the Kingman, these are probably a polyurethane based foam. So polyurethane versus rubber doesn't mean rubber's better than polyurethane. It's more of how it's structured and how dense the foam is that leads to a lot of the durability. So it's not that polyurethane wedges are bad, because Thorogoods have a polyurethane outsole and they call them the max wear wedge because allegedly they last longer than rubber. But this one's so light and so like the cells are so big in it, it's just not a very dense foam that it's just not gonna last nearly as long as any other wedge, and wedges by themselves don't last very long. And if we take a quick durometer test of this, it comes in 40 Shore A versus these harder soles in like the Vibrant Christie's right around 48 to 50. And so it is just a lot lighter foam. So it makes it a lightweight boot, but it's not gonna be nearly as durable, but it will be more comfortable, but it's gonna wear out faster. So there's pros and cons to each, but when you put it through the lens of the ACG, I would say this is not ACG worthy because this, you know, it's just not very durable, and it's definitely not for every condition, but not the worst outsole we've seen. And then finally we move to the construction. So you can see, obviously it's a MOCTOE, it's part of Moctober. This is a two-piece MOCTOE, and you can see they've pulled a lot of elements from the Jungle boot that we did a review on. It has like 4 million views now. So if you haven't seen that one, if you go watch that one, you'll be able to see exactly where they got a lot of the styling and the paneling from, which I kind of like. I think it's a nice throwback. But as for the general construction of this boot, so this looks like it's a Goodyear welted boot, but for $90, I doubt it's Goodyear welted. And if we pull the upper waist slightly, we can see some glue in there. So there's a good chance that it's a fake Goodyear welt. And it's also not a leather welt material. The welt's not leather, it's just like a rubber welt. So there's a good chance it's fake, but we'll only know if we cut it in half. So let's cut it in half. Okay, we got it cut in half, and it's pretty easy to cut. So this ACG boot might be in a little bit of trouble, but let's see what's inside. So we at least have a shank. There's a composite shank in here. It's not much of a shank, you know, but at least it's there. That was good to see. So at least there's one thing in here that's ACG ready. It's nice to have a shank. And you can see that this little decorative piece of foam on the outside doesn't really do much on the inside. And there is a more stable footbed underneath the insole. You can see that it's a fiberboard insole, so at least it has that going for it, so you can equally distribute your weight across this soft foam. So that's a nice touch, but we can now see that it is truly just a cemented boot. You know, that Goodyear welt right there is fake because there's no stitches going anywhere, and you can see how the upper is tucked underneath and glued down. So now to the big question, is this ACG worthy? Is it truly an all conditions gear boot? I would say it's clearly not. It's just a cheap boot made from cheap materials that is super comfy. Because that's the one thing this boot has going for it, it is very comfortable. There's almost no break-in period. It's exactly what you'd expect if Nike made a MOCTOE boot for $90. It just has really nothing to do with the ACG name except for the look, you know, because if you're wearing this compared to sneakers, it's pretty hard to dispute that this doesn't look like it's all conditions ready. So it's not ACG worthy, but I also don't think it's all cheap garbage. I think a more accurate acronym is all cost savings gear or all comfort gear. So close, but not quite ACG in my opinion. So is it worth the price though? Because this is a really affordable boot. It's under $100. And so looking at all the materials, I say it's honestly not a bad price. It's not a bad deal. If this was $90 today, obviously it was over 10 years ago, I would say it's a good deal for a cheap little MOCTOE that's really comfortable. It's gonna last you a couple years or so, but you know, it's not great materials, but it's only 90 bucks. So if you bought this today for 90 bucks, I would say it's a pretty decent deal. So now, how does this rank on the official Moctober board? You know, we've got the Metusa board, now we're gonna have the Moctober board. And the way that we're gonna rank all these is strictly on the quality and the materials. Not on the price, not on the value, not on the appearance. We're trying to keep it as much to just the materials and the quality as much as possible. So the first video we did in Moctober was the Alden Indies, and boy did that hit a nerve with some people and ruffle a couple feathers. But we didn't rank that one because it was the first one we did, so there's no reason to rank it on the board. So we got Alden Indies on the board, so now it's time to rank the Kingman, the ACG Nikes. So if we put that on the board, it's going above Alden Indies. Just kidding. It's clearly not above Alden Indies. It's clearly significantly below Alden Indies, so below Alden Indies. So let me know what other ACG products you want us to do, because like I said, I'm not writing off the whole ACG line. This is one particular model from the dark ages of ACG, and I'd really like to do like the best thing that ACG has to offer to really see what ACG can actually do with their money and the technology. So let me know what you want us to review, and thank you so much for watching this video and for watching all of Moctober. And we still have the scratch and dent sale going on, so it's 25% off the majority of the stuff that we hand make out of the highest quality leather here in the shop. Thanks for watching, and thanks for everything you guys do. It's really fun doing these series, so I appreciate your support. See ya.